Hey guys, this is Joe and a Bunch with Bunches Diesel. Going to do a quick video for y'all today on removing 7.3 Powerstroke injectors. Just going to kind of walk you through how that works, and if you want to do your own injectors at home, this would be the correct way to do it. So the truck we're going to be working on today is a 1999 model 7.3 Powerstroke. We've already got the valve cover pulled off for you guys so you can see the bolts here, or where that valve cover normally sits. So to pull off that valve cover, it's fairly simple. You just pull off your cold air intake, which is just a couple 8mm bolts. And then here is your valve cover. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts that hold that valve cover in place. So this will be how it sits on the truck. So this will be the front and this will be the rear. This will be the hardest one for you to get to. What Bailey uses is going to be a swivel extension or a swivel socket here. And you can use a swivel extension, you can do whatever. And you don't necessarily have to have that. That is a 13mm, but it does make your life a little bit easier. Something else that'll make your life a little easier is go ahead and take it off this crankcase breather. This is gonna be 2 Phillips heads, and that is going to mount right on top. It's like I said, 2 Phillips head screws, pull straight up. You'll have 2 O-rings right there, both of those on the bottom. Check those O-rings, make sure that they are in good shape before you reinstall. One more detail that we'll start off with before we'll pull the actual valve cover gasket off, which the harness and the gasket is made together. Bailey will take a second here and take the shop vac and vacuum any of this trash along this top edge here. And what that does is that's going to keep us from getting any kind of contamination down into the rocker cover, or whatever, I don't know what you would call that. Just the top side of the engine, so you don't want to get any dirt or any contamination in that. So once you've got all that vacuumed off, you've got one big plug here. And so this is pretty much going to be the exact same process for any of the 7.3s that from 96 to 2003 7.3s. The only difference is the old body style trucks is going to have, this harness is going to be split into 2 plugs. So you'll have a plug here and a plug here. Whereas the Super Duty trucks is going to have one main plug that goes in right here. But you've got one little pin, pull that straight up. And so now we're going to get into taking off the valve cover harness and taking out the injector. Guys, so we're going to pull off this valve cover harness now. So as you can see, went ahead and started, you've got these little clips here. And so this will be in the injector just like this. And so what we're going to try to do is we're going to flip this little metal retainer back, and this will pop straight out. And then the glow plug will be pushed on top of the glow plug, and you stick your finger in and pull that out. So I'll get a video of that for you guys on these back 2 injectors. So Bailey, go ahead and pull them back 2 ones off. So as you can see that clip, pop that clip down, stick that, just pull it out and out. If I can get the camera back in here to see that glow plug. So just pull that glow plug right up out of there. Let me zoom off a little bit. Go ahead. Okay. Good deal. So now this is their entire glow plug harness and injector harness. As I mentioned before, the Super Duties have 1 large plug, and the old body style 7.3s have 2 smaller plugs, but it's the exact same process either way. All right, so now to pulling out the injectors. So the first step of pulling out these injectors is going to be to pull out the oiler. So as you can see, there's an Allen head bolt right there, so Bailey can go ahead and take that out. There you go. There is a picture of that oiler. It hooks into the side of the injector. So he's going to go ahead and pull out these other 3, and then we'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to get these injectors took out. We've got just a couple bolts. These injectors are super simple to get out. So Buddy's going to take his 8mm here, and he's going to take out this bottom bolt. So you can see he pulled out this lower injector retainer bolt. So go ahead and you can flick that up. So that piece inside there will just slide up just like that over top of this other bolt. Okay, and then once that is slid up over top of it, you'll take your little pry bar right under that lip, making sure it's above the bolt, and just kind of pry directly up. And now there you go. You hear those O-rings come unseated, and the injector will be loose. We'll go ahead and take that one out. And you can see all the oil and stuff on this injector. And so the two bolt holes I was talking about, you've got a lower one that is missing, and the upper one that is a little bit taller, and that cradle is going to sit on top of this bolt and is pulled in with the lower bolt. So like I said, the process for that is exactly the same throughout the rest of these injectors. So I'm gonna have him take these other injectors out, and then we'll get the video of how they go back on. All right, so now that the injectors are out, you've got to take out your glow plugs. And you can see the top of it right there. You can't really see what size top of the nut they are, but they are a 10 millimeter, and you have to use a 1/4 inch with an extension to get down in there, because a 3/8 inch drive will be too big. So what he'll do is he'll just go through and crack all these loose. Then he can take his ratchet off and do it by hand, or use an electric tool, whichever way you guys prefer, depending on what you have. And go ahead and get them glow plugs twisted all the way out of there. All right, so now that he's got all those injectors loose, like I said, done them all by hand, he's gonna go back through and we'll just pull these injectors out one at a time. You can kind of reach in there with your 2 fingers and just grab them. You can see the top of that nut there. All right, guys, so we've got this whole side completely tore apart, glow plugs out, injectors out, all the cups seem to be fine. So what we're gonna do now is he's gonna take off everything for the passenger side. Like I said, we may do another little more detailed video on how to get to all this stuff later on, if that's something you guys wanna do. But he's gonna go ahead and get that passenger side tore apart. All right, guys, so here is 4 of the old injectors we've got out. And you can see the old glow plugs here. It's always a good idea to do these glow plugs when you're doing them, just for the fact of you have to take them out regardless, and you know, you're not going to spend a whole lot more money to get in there and do them. So, but always make sure you use Motorcraft brand glow plugs, because if you put like a Felpro or something like that in there, we've seen the tips, these tips where they're made cheaper from Felpro or whatever, these tips will swell up, and if that tip swells up and you can't get it back out of the cylinder head, then you got to pull the head off to get that out. So spend an extra $3 and get the Motorcraft ones. So over here we've got the new injectors. As far as the bodies and like I said, everything like that, they all look the same. But these are the 180cc single shot with 30 over nozzles. So it should make it about 50 or so more horsepower than the factory ones. With the turbo and the tune and stuff like that, it's gonna make a little bit more, but like I said, we're not getting into all that. All I'm trying to do is show y'all how to properly install them. So, all right, so we're gonna run over here to the truck real quick. Something that you all need to do, and we've got this special brush kit here, babe. Let me see it. Let me see those. So these brushes are designed for this size hole. And so what we'll do with these brushes, we'll go in here and clean these holes out to make sure that you get a good mating surface. So Bailey's gonna do one of those real quick. Now these brushes can be bought online, and I can add the part number if y'all want that for those. Like I said, some guys want to do all the little extra stuff, and some guys don't. Like I said, this is not one of those things that's 100% necessary to do, but it does make the job a whole lot nicer. So that first brush is going to clean out the large section. The smaller brush goes down inside and cleans out the where the copper washer is going to sit at. So you can see that we got a good shiny hole in there now. So now Bailey will take that brush, that smaller brush, put a rag around it and work that rag down in the hole to clean any debris or whatever else out of that job. All right, so after you got that hole cleaned out, you can look in there and you can see how nice shiny of a hole we've got for a good clean mating surface. All right, so now that we're ready to install the new injectors, I'm gonna go over the lube process for these, because you've got several different O-rings on these injectors, as you all can see. So you've got a copper and 1, 2, 3, 4 different O-rings. And so, as they always say, you never want to go in dry. So Bailey, let's show us the proper lubrication of the install of these injectors. So we'll just get some oil that we've got here in a container. Just good clean oil. Make sure you lubricate those very well, so that they slide into those pockets nice. Okay, nozzle off, and now let's get this injector in the truck. All right, so now back over at the truck, Bailey's got this injector. So it's just gonna stick into the hole there. Try to get a good shot of this. So you just kind of get it in loose. You gotta make sure that that collar is above your screw after you get it pushed in a little bit. See, there's that screw that we're trying to lock in on. So to get this injector to seat right, you're not wanting to, you don't want to use a bolt to do it. You kind of want to give it either a little pop with your hand, and you'll be able to hear it seat down in there. So now we'll go ahead and get these other 4 put in on this side, and then we'll go back through and install our 4 bottom bolts and go through the torque sequence. All right, so now you can see we've got all of our injectors just put in. Like I said, they're not torqued, no bolts in them, nothing like that. So we're gonna run through real quick, and Bailey's gonna put the oil deflectors back on. So go ahead, Bailey, you can go ahead and put one of those in. Guys, these only go on one way, so just kind of pay attention when you're taking them off, how they come off. Just make sure they go back on. There is a torque spec for these. We'll go over that when we go through that final torque section of how to torque all this stuff down. So there we got one of the oil deflectors back on for the injector, so he's gonna go ahead and put the other 4 in, and then we'll be back. All right, so we got all of our oilers put in. That is that Allen head bolt right up there. That is going to torque to 108 inch-pounds, and we'll show you that here in just a minute. And then the bottom retaining bolt here is, we've got those tightened in, hand tight, and those are going to torque to 10 foot-pounds. So Buddy, you can go ahead and torque that. Okay, 10 foot-pounds. And then, like I said, we're gonna go back through and go ahead and torque all these bottom ones, and then show you all the next step from there. All right, so the next step in our process here, we've got all the injectors on. We do not have the harness put on, but what we're gonna do real quick is go ahead and put the valve covers on the trucks, because what you've got to do, we're gonna leave the glow plugs out for a little bit. Get the valve covers on, Buddy, you can go ahead and do that. Just put it in with 1 or 2 bolts, just enough so it holds it in there. Because what we're going to do is we'll have to turn the engine over and kind of prime the system up. So what that's going to do is any oil that fell down into the engine during this process will get blown back out the glow plug holes. And so we're putting the valve covers back on the motor, so that way the oil is not going all over the engine bay and getting everything else nasty. So we're going to get the valve covers put on, then show y'all how to turn the motor over, and then we'll get everything else lined back up. All right, so we got both valve covers on. We're gonna come over here to the passenger side, make sure you got your batteries hooked up for this. So right here on the factory side is gonna be your starter relay. And so what we're gonna do is just take a screwdriver and jump that over, don't do it yet. Jump that over for about 10 to 15 seconds, and that's just gonna blow all of our oil back up out of the glow plug hole. So Bailey, go ahead and do that. So it gets blowed back out of the hole, so now we can pull the valve covers back off and get this thing fully assembled. All right, so going back together now, we've got the new customer wanted to go ahead and do new harnesses since we're in here. So we've got new valve cover gaskets that come with the harness built into it. So like I said, this is more or less just going in reverse order. So Bailey's going to do the harness here. I'm going to go through and stick in on all the glow plug ones first, and then come back through and plug all the connectors in. All right, guys, so now that we've got the harness back in where it goes, we'll go ahead and get the valve covers back on and get this thing harness plugged up and get this thing ready to fire. All right, guys, so we got the valve covers on. We're not going to put everything back on, like I said, in case we have to pull anything back apart and check it out. So just going to get as little on as possible. So what Bailey's fixing to do, we're going to turn this starter over, make sure the system is good and prime, make sure we're getting oil pressure. So go ahead, Bailey, and start that. We'll do that for about 10 or 15 seconds. All right, so what that's gonna do, like I said, that's gonna get oil all the way through the system without the truck pouring a ton of fuel everywhere. So let's go ahead and get this truck. We should be ready to start it. I'd say this next time we should have it. Let that starter cool off a second. Now guys, I don't know if you can hear me good with this or not, but like I said, you'll have a lot of these trucks, you have a lot of knocking and making noise going on when they first start with that Huey system, so they just gotta get all the air out of that oil, system. They'll start cleaning up pretty quick. All right, guys, so that's gonna conclude our 7.3 injector video. Like I said, truck's up, running, we gotta get some miles on it to get the rest of the air and stuff out of the oil, but like I said, everything's running, doing like it's supposed to be doing, so we'll go ahead and get this thing finished up and get the oil changed in so it's got some fresh oil in it, and then this truck will be ready to roll. Thank y'all for watching.